Hey, beautiful priestesses. So this is the part 3 video there for my series. It's all about how to jailbreak yourself from negative thoughts and judgments. So in the first video, I talk a little bit about retraining your mind, including your your neural pathways. So talking a little more about the brain and our addiction to judgment and criticism, and what to do about that. In the second video, I actually talk about more hormone balance as it relates to diet and self-care, because when our hormones are out of whack, we feel crazy. And there's definitely more mind chatter in those imbalance moments. And in this video, I'm actually going to give you a ritual. And so I'm just going to dive right in. So there's 5 steps to this ritual. I call this ritual blossoming intentions or blossoming prayers. You can call it whatever you want. You can use this, you can share this, you can make it your own. And remember that there are not really any rules. So I really want you to take this and just make it your own and know that the end result is really all about pairing pleasure and a state of bliss and joy and connection and empathy, and also a connection with your higher self with an experience that you're calling in or that you're wanting. So for example, an experience that you're wanting with clients, or you have an event or a workshop coming up, or an experience that you want to have with your children or your partner, or with family. So this is not necessarily a visualization that will make that thing happen, but it's to reclaim your power and the place where you're coming from, so that you are entering into that experience, that workshop or that relationship, or that interaction, as a really deeply centered woman who's connected to you're connected to your tools. I will say, however, you've heard me talk about my own kind of story of woe, and being, a number of years ago, really, really sick and on food stamps. And this ritual is the ritual that I used. Ultimately I took this ritual and I paired it with pleasure, in my case self-pleasure. You can take a look at my sex magic video if you want to know a little bit more about that. I also have a video about pleasure and manifestation, so you can look for those. But pairing this ritual that I'm going to give you with pleasure, and suddenly my business was just exploding. Like, I was too sick to do any marketing, but suddenly women were flocking to my events, and I was very quickly able to, within a couple of years, build my business from nothing to a sustainable, relaxed, 6-figure business that's still growing and expanding. So here's the ritual. So the first step 1, is I want you to imagine an experience that you are wanting to have with another person or with a group of people, right? So like I was just talking about with clients, in an event or a workshop that you're creating, with a partner, with children. So step 1 is to imagine an experience that you are wanting to have with another person or a group of people. And you can just kind of call this up in your mind and just kind of hold it there if that's something that it's easy for you. You could do some journaling if that will help you clarify, but you do need to go into this ritual with a clear understanding of who you're doing this ritual about in relationship to yourself. Step number 2 is to clarify 2 or 3 felt experiences that you want for them to have, or that you want to have with them. So 2 or 3 felt experiences. In my case, when I did this ritual, it was like the felt experiences that I wanted women to have when they come to my events. So in my case, it might be joy, belonging, sisterhood. Celebration is another word that sums up a felt experience. The felt experience of joy, the felt experience of belonging, the felt experience of tribe and sisterhood and connection. So step number 2 is to clarify 2 to 3 felt experiences that you want for them to have or that you want to share with them, okay? And you can either write those down or just kind of hold them in your mind. It might be helpful to write them down just to be super clear. And even if there are many felt experiences that you want them to have, I would just pick 2 or 3 of the big ones that just feel really important. Like, wow, I really want every woman who comes to my event to feel this or to have this experience. Step number 3, so this is where we get to just be really feminine and imaginative and almost in like manifesting from our inner child and the wisdom that she carries. And so step number 3 is to assign a flower to each of these experiences, these 2 or 3 felt experiences that you just spelled out. So step number 3, assign a flower to each experience. So it might be, a red rose for joy, a stargazer lily for celebration, lilacs for sisterhood. And there doesn't have to be any metaphysical or historical relationship. It's just whatever comes to your mind. Like, yes, joy, okay, that's a red rose. Celebration, that's a stargazer lily. Sisterhood, that's a lilac. It doesn't really matter what kind of flower. It doesn't matter how you associate them. It might be that there's another kind of plant or herb or something else, or even an essential oil that you would prefer to pair. But in this creative visualization, my invitation to you, step number 3, is to assign a flower to each experience. Now, step number 4 is where we start to change our state. In step number 4, if it helps, you can put on some beautiful music, you can dance. This is the place where you can kind of pleasure yourself if that's what feels comfortable to you, or take a walk in nature. Step number 4 is just you imagining holding bouquets of those flowers in your arms. You're starting to bring all of your senses into this visualization. The way these flowers might smell, the weight of the bouquets in your arms, the way that it feels to just kind of embrace them. If you bring a little bit of movement, then it's just a more tactile experience of just really enjoying the pleasure of holding these big bouquets of these roses and these stargazer lilies and these lilacs in your arms, whatever flowers that you've chosen. And just really breathing in the aroma and letting your body be a breathing body. And then step number 5 is to imagine ecstatically giving or tossing these bouquets of flowers or individual flowers to the other people in this ritual, in this visualization. And to watch them, and this is really important, to watch them, see them in your visualization, see them revel in smelling and holding the flowers, and maybe even dancing or smiling or just being in a state of ecstasy. So step number 5 is to imagine you're taking these felt experiences that you want them to have. These felt experiences are being represented by these beautiful flowers, and then you are gifting those felt experiences and having a shared experience of joy or celebration or sisterhood or whatever felt experiences that you laid out in number 2. And just creating this all of the senses, joyous, childlike wonderment experience of sharing these felt experiences together. So that's really it. it may seem simple, it may seem silly, but like I said, this is the ritual that I did. And I don't know how many times I did it, maybe just a few times, and just imagining women just coming into the room and giving them these flowers, and imagining us dancing together and just expanding my energy, like kind of fluffing up my energy. And with a month, my events were completely sold out. We actually very quickly after me doing this ritual and women just flocking to my events, we had to find a new event space because the room that I was renting was not big enough for all the women that were coming. And I have seen a correlation with this ritual with other aspects of my business over the years, and a correlation with doing pleasure-based manifestation, what I call pleasure casting, or even sex magic, to call women in. So I want to invite you to try this. I hope you enjoyed this. I think in addition to manifesting, this is just a really great way to create a loving connection with anyone who you are either experiencing criticism or judgments towards, or who you are imagining or experiencing are kind of passing criticism or judgments towards you. Obviously, we can't control other people, but we can control our rightness. Our rightness meaning like we are right within ourselves. We are in our sovereignty. We're in our center, and from that place we can make decisions about how we want to proceed with this or that relationship, with this or that thought, in terms of giving or receiving criticism or judgments. So this is a process of rewiring your system and your neurology into a place of pleasure and centered way of being, and creating a little bit of space between yourself and negative mind chatter. So I hope this was helpful for you. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day or evening, and I hope that you try this and find it lovely and feminine, and just a really fun ritual to take home with you. All right, thanks so much, beautifuls. Much love. Mwah.